What's up, everybody? It's your boy Trippy, and we are about 2 weeks away from one of the most highly anticipated middleweight contests of all time. This one really has me thinking, though. This could really be a special night of fights, only because I get the feeling that somebody's career is really on the line at 185. And by somebody's career, I mean Robert Whittaker's. As for Israel Adesanya, this is really the time where you can truly display your dominance in the 185-pound division. Whenever I look at his championship reign, I look at it as he may have been outmuscled and outsized at the 205-pound division. But at middleweight, this is his home. He fits into it like a perfectly fitted shoe. This is truly where I can see him being the most dominant in the division. And I don't think that he should leave, even if the competition gets completely cleaned out. If you were to beat Robert Whittaker, if you're Israel Adesanya, this really puts you in a very unique place, a very interesting place, I may add, because you've kind of cleaned out the division and you beat the consensus best guy in the entire division. Israel Adesanya can truly display his dominance, man, in this fight. With another dominant win, especially if it comes by a finish, you would have to just think he is definitely one of the most skilled and one of the most talented middleweight champions of all time. And I know he doesn't like the comparisons to Anderson Silva, but in my opinion, there is no shame in being compared to one of the greatest male fighters of all time, because at the end of the day, it is his legacy that he is chasing. Although with 2 wins over Robert Whittaker, you can then start arguing that Israel Adesanya may have a shorter reign, but you could argue the fact that Israel Adesanya is beating better competition and better guys in general. Israel Adesanya may not have the most diverse mixed martial arts game, but his defensive tactics and his defensive display is just so good and so head and shoulders above the rest in the entire division. His height, his size, his length, his reach, all these things make him just so unbeatable at this weight class. And it really gets you thinking that Robert Whittaker has to be somewhat perfect in order to win this fight. But if Israel were to lose, that is, it wouldn't necessarily hurt his legacy too bad. There isn't a lot on the line for him. But if he were to lose somehow, it would really take away what's left of that aura of invincibility that he once had, especially if this loss comes by a finish. Once a champion loses, it's almost as if the confidence in the entire division grows. It's almost as if everybody is like, okay, the game plan is out. That is how you beat this guy. I can do the same thing. And that is the only thing, in my opinion, that is at stake for Israel Adesanya. If he were to lose, we see an amazing trilogy. But if he wins, it's really hard to see who beats Israel Adesanya at 185. And it puts him in a unique spot because the guy, in a way, has already cleared out the division. And that would mean that possible rematches and start lapping the competition, just like Usman is doing right now. It's very interesting. Israel Adesanya is in a very interesting spot, and I wish the best of luck to him. But we just have to wait and see. As for Robert Whittaker, there's actually a lot to say about him. If I'm Robert Whittaker, I'm coming into this fight as if this is a career make or break for me. If I'm Robert Whittaker, I'm also coming into this fight thinking that this is the last fight on my UFC contract and they're going to completely cut me from the promotion if I somehow lose to this guy again. Even though it's definitely not, it's just you have to think that way because with 2 dominant losses, with the same guy defeating you twice, and you've conquered the division before he was to come, it's really going to have a negative cloud looming over your legacy. Losing, and this goes for anybody, it's not just for Robert Whittaker, losing to the same guy twice really harms your legacy, unless you lose in the manner that Conor McGregor did to Dustin Poirier, to where there's still an excuse left. Robert Whittaker, like I said, has been on a tear. And in my opinion, he looked the best he's ever had, even before he got the belt, even while he was champion. This is the best Robert Whittaker we've seen. And it really showed me that Robert Whittaker has hit a new peak in his career when he fought Kelvin Gastelum, utterly destroying Kelvin Gastelum, a guy that we thought had a chance a few years ago. Robert Whittaker doesn't have the best chin, but he's tough, and he has a lot of heart. And there's definitely going to be a fight put up against Israel Adesanya. Robert has also shown that he's got new tools in his arsenal and has really evolved. But will it be enough to take down Israel Adesanya and to stop his championship reign? Whenever you look at this fight, and this is genuinely coming from the heart, I really feel bad for Robert Whittaker. But beating Israel Adesanya is a very, very tough ask and a very, very steep mountain to climb, especially for his style. Robert has evolved. Robert has put new tools in his shed. But all those tools Israel Adesanya has patched up already. And it's really going to be interesting which tools he's going to try and use on fight night. The sad reality is that he gets shut out and gets defeated again. The happy reality is that he redeems himself and earns himself a trilogy fight with possibly one of the most skilled middleweights of all time. And obviously 2 wins for him does a lot for his legacy. Robert Whittaker is in a unique place. And you only can feel like his back is against the wall. I'm rooting for him though. And not because I dislike Israel Adesanya. More so is that I would love to see Robert Whittaker's legacy stay intact. Although I pray for both guys' legacies. I like both gentlemen. This is just going to be an interesting fight, and it definitely shouldn't get looked over. Robert Whittaker almost has to be perfect to beat Israel Adesanya, man. But does Izzy necessarily have to be perfect to beat Robert Whittaker? Which way does this fight go down? Will it be another KO from Adesanya? Or will it be a dominant win from Robert Whittaker? Or, best of yet, will Robert Whittaker turn the world upside down and finish Israel Adesanya with a knockout or a submission? We will just have to wait and see, and I cannot wait for this fight. It's been your boy Trippy, and I'm out, man.